Well, I'm not convinced that there is a plot in that sense. I have to say, I think Harry and Meghan would like to come back to Britain every now and again. Certainly, Harry would. Meghan, perhaps not so keen, and they'd like to repair the damage with their family. But I'm not seeing any sign of them wanting to be working members of the royal family again, representing the king. I'm not really sure where this is coming from. We do know that Harry was very annoyed last weekend. He some of the briefing that had been taking place really sort of dissing him, and he was talking about the men in grey suits trying to sabotage his efforts to reconcile with his family. The men in grey suits don't appear to be very happy about that, and saying it's not, we're not doing that. But every time he makes these sort of accusations, it makes things harder for them to facilitate father and son to reconcile.
Here's what I don't fully understand. Whenever these stories pop up, it doesn't feel to me like Harry fully comprehends the damage that he has done to the relationship with his family through the communication of private stories through his book and other channels. Am I misreading that? Is there a disconnect there with Harry where he doesn't fully seem to comprehend just how much damage he has done?
I think that's probably a fair comment. I think there is a bit of a disconnect. He doesn't. He does. I mean, he does get the fact that his family don't want to speak to him at the moment, and he would like that to change. But he doesn't seem to regret. I think he regrets a few things he's said and done, but he felt like he had to say some of those things about his family that have really upset them, and have made it quite difficult for them to repair, mend fences. I mean, I was going to say, William. Certainly at the moment, William still seems pretty reluctant to start speaking again to his brother.
Yeah, I mean, Richard, I think, does this not feed into the point? Because Harry has done all of these things in the past, and if he really wants to reconcile now, I would say he would just be quiet, carry on negotiating with his father and brother, etc., behind the scenes. But what does he do? He comes over. There's a very public meeting with his father that we all know about, and then he goes and gives an interview to The Guardian. So he isn't learning retrospectively or going forward.
Yes, I mean, I think he was quite careful what he said in that interview, but I think he did ruffle a few feathers. He did ruffle a few feathers again, and I think he might well have been well advised to have avoided talking about meeting his father at all. Yeah. He was really speaking mainly about going to Ukraine and the work he was doing there. But I think you're right. I think it did ruffle some feathers there.
Richard, forgive my ignorance. I don't really understand. Why do these senior government figures want them back? I mean, it's not like they haven't got lots to be getting on with at the moment. What benefit is there to the UK?
I'm not convinced that the government does want them back. I mean, I suppose you could say that the government, has seen how the royal family can help in diplomacy with Donald Trump, for example, and they are a bit short now of working royals, and that number is likely to diminish further. And again, when William becomes king eventually, we'll probably be down to 5 or 6 working royals. And had the events of 5 years ago not happened, certainly Harry and Meghan would have been central to the future of the monarchy. But I honestly think that ship has sailed. I don't, they could do with a few more members of the royal family, high-profile members of the royal family, travelling abroad, representing the Foreign Office's interests. But I don't really see a comeback for Harry and Meghan on the horizon. I think the best they can hope for, and this does seem to be their desire, is to be able to come back see the family, let the king see his grandchildren every now and again, and maybe, you know, in Harry's case, come back 4 or 5 times a year to support the charities that he's still patron of over here.
You know what always amazes me? Every couple of weeks, like clockwork, some royal expert somewhere dusts off their keyboard and dreams up a new conspiracy about Harry and Meghan. And this week's episode of Royal Fan Fiction Weekly is brought to you by GB News and, of course, Richard Palmer. According to them, Harry and Meghan are secretly plotting a grand royal comeback. Oh, please. If the royal press circus was a soap opera, these commentators would be the background extras trying to turn their 3-second cameo into a dramatic monologue. Let's keep it real, there's no secret plot. Unless drinking green juice in California, raising 2 adorable children and living in peace now count as undercover operations. Even Richard Palmer himself admitted on air that he's not sure he believes this plot. And honestly, that might be the first accurate thing he's said all year. Because the truth is simple. There's no comeback plan, no coded messages, and no secret meetings in Montecito. These rumours are about as real as a miracle regrowth on Prince William's hairline. Harry and Meghan aren't scheming to crawl back to an institution that made their lives miserable. They walked away for a reason. The system full of faceless courtiers, leaking briefings, and a toxic press machine was suffocating. Meghan was hounded relentlessly. Harry was manipulated and gaslit. Every time Meghan breathed, the tabloids treated it like a national emergency. Why would anyone willingly return to that? Now, Palmer claims Harry's upset over palace briefings that paint him in a bad light, you know, those anonymous sources that mysteriously pop up in every tabloid the minute the Sussexes do anything positive. Yeah, those. Let's just call them what they are. The palace's very own PR snipers. They pretend to be neutral civil servants, but act more like gossip bloggers with press access. And Harry has every right to call them out. Because while they claim they're not sabotaging any reconciliation, somehow the tabloids always have fresh anti-Sussex headlines ready the second Harry steps on British soil. What a funny coincidence, huh? Then GB News dares to say, every time Harry talks about his family, it makes reconciliation harder. Excuse me? How is Harry the villain for being honest, while the people leaking behind closed doors get a free pass? That's like blaming the smoke detector for being noisy instead of the guy holding the match. These commentators love to clutch their pearls and ask, does Harry even realise how much damage he's done? You mean the damage of telling the truth about racism, neglect and double standards in one of the most secretive institutions on earth? If that's damage, then we need more of it. Because that's not destruction, that's accountability. Harry didn't blow up his family. The system did. He just refused to play along with the performance anymore. And let's be honest, when they talk about damage, what they really mean is embarrassment. They're embarrassed that Harry and Meghan had the courage to speak. Embarrassed that Harry said out loud what everyone else only whispered, that he wouldn't sacrifice his wife's sanity or safety for a photo op. That's not betrayal. That's bravery. And now we're hearing the same tired chorus, William doesn't want to talk to Harry right now. Of course he doesn't. Silence protects him. As long as Harry speaks, people start asking why the so-called future king's household stood by while Meghan was being destroyed by the media. Nobody in that palace wants to answer that question. William's refusal to reconcile says more about his comfort than Harry's conduct. Meanwhile, Harry's out here actually doing the work advocating for veterans, supporting mental health programs, expanding the Invictus Games. Compare that to William's team, probably brainstorming the next Earthshot Awards backdrop that looks best on camera. Then GB News complains that Harry ruffled feathers by mentioning seeing his father in an interview. Oh, the horror. He dared to speak about family after years of being begged to speak about family. The double standards are wild. These people could find drama in a cup of tea if it filled airtime. Harry was in Ukraine, for goodness sake, doing humanitarian work that should have been the story. But no. Apparently, the man can't even sneeze without causing a royal panic at Kensington Palace. Maybe it's not him, maybe it's the feathers that are too delicate. And then came the big question from the GB News panel. Why would the UK even want Harry and Meghan back? What's the benefit? Oh, bless their hearts. The answer is obvious, because Harry and Meghan were the modern heartbeat of that institution. They were dynamic, compassionate, relatable, diverse and global. Everything the monarchy desperately wanted to seem like, they actually were. Their 2018 tour of Australia remains one of the most successful royal tours in modern history. Crowds adored them. The media couldn't get enough. And that's when the jealousy started. Let's be honest, the royal family didn't lose Harry and Meghan because they were disloyal. They lost them because their light was too bright, and others couldn't handle the reflection. So when Richard Palmer says that ship has sailed, he's half right. The ship has sailed, and it's cruising beautifully off the coast of Montecito. 2 happy kids, thriving projects, philanthropic ventures, and a peace of mind the palace could never offer. Harry's trips to the UK aren't about some comeback plot. They're about purpose, service, integrity. He's always been committed to that, with or without royal titles or palace approval. The tabloids twist it as desperation. But let's call it what it really is: dedication. And here's what really gets me. These pundits act like reconciliation is a one-way street, where Harry has to grovel while the palace sits polishing their crowns. No. If there's ever going to be reconciliation, it'll happen when that institution stops leaking, starts listening, and actually takes responsibility for the damage it caused. Harry and Meghan don't need the monarchy to validate them. They've already built something far more meaningful, a global platform based on compassion, equality and truth. What they deserve is respect, and maybe, just maybe, for the British press to finally stop acting like it owns them. So no Richard Palmer, no GB News. There's no master plan, no secret meeting, no desperate attempt to return. There's just a couple living their truth, raising their family, doing the work, and refusing to let history repeat itself. And if you've made it this far, thank you, because it means you can see through the noise, the gossip, and the palace spin. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Join our Sussex Unplugged community and help us keep telling these stories the way they deserve to be told, with empathy, facts, and zero royal propaganda. And if you want to support this channel, hit that little super thanks heart below. It helps us keep creating bold, unapologetic content that stands up for Harry and Meghan and calls out the nonsense for what it is. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and remember, Harry and Meghan didn't lose the crown. The crown lost them.